This episode of the Leading Ladies podcast is proudly sponsored by Dutton Gregory Solicitors. After 75 years building an enviable reputation for its legal services on the South Coast, Dutton Gregory has responded to the demand of its national property clients and opened a new office in the city centre of Liverpool. From property purchase, development and lettings to the commercial needs of companies and personal circumstances, find out all about Dutton Gregory's full range of legal services and friendly solicitors at duttongregory.co.uk. Hi and welcome to Spill the Tea with LLIB. I'm Clare.
I thought we were on the pink chairs. The pink couches? We did say the pink. Did we say the pink?
Said the pink.
We said the pink. That's better. And I'm Clare.
And together we created the incredible platform that is Leading Ladies in Business, a platform that inspires and supports female businesswomen across the globe. Welcome to Spill the Tea with LLIB. We are so excited to have you here with us today. It's Maggie O'Carrol, everyone. Yay! Well done to... I love that. Well done to all of you who guessed correctly over on social media. The debate was huge and the excitement has been real.
Yeah, really has. So Maggie, tell us about your experience as a female founder. Where does it begin? Tell us about your journey.
Spill the tea.
Well, I will indeed. Well, thank you very much for that lovely introduction. I think it's, it stretches back to when I was growing up in Ireland, really. And I'm originally from the west coast of Ireland, a small farm. And I think what I did was I obviously had a role model who was my mum, who was a farmer. Sadly, my dad died when I was very, very young. So she was left with 5 children under the age of 11. And I think one of the things is that she didn't have a choice. There was necessity entrepreneurship, really. But she certainly did rise to the occasion. And so consequently, I saw her doing all the deals in a male, primarily a male world in terms of the local mart and, and trading and, farm animals and just negotiating all the time.
I love this, by the way. This is like my dream. It's like the farm, isn't it? So everything you're saying is just like...
Take me to the farm.
Well, try this one. Maybe about 2:00 in the morning on a winter's night. Maybe on, and then you have to be dragged out of bed.
Maggie.
No. Reality. There has to be reality here. So you're dragged out of bed and then you're going to actually sort of, when the sheep are lambing.
Oh, wow.
And it sounds quite cute, but just in the middle of the night, it's kind of a tough one, really. So you have to go out and look after them and make sure that they're taken care of.
So maybe husbands are a good thing after all.
Well, I say is anybody who will go out, anybody, rather than me at that stage. And you can imagine that as a teenager, I wasn't best pleased to have to go out and assist because I was the youngest of 5. So consequently, I think, but what it did was it sort of set up this whole agenda, unbeknownst to myself. I never thought about it when I was at school, but I did do business at 3rd level, and so consequently, my area of specialism was business and marketing, and then moved to the United States, and that's where I think really things did really start to move in the agenda or in relation to entrepreneurship. You just saw everything was possible until proven otherwise, really. And you had these remarkable women that were just kind of just doing it for themselves and just, they were in very, very important and senior corporate jobs. And then they were also running their own business. And what was notable as well is the number of Black and racial minority women. They were very present as well. So, I think Chicago really kind of embedded and was the foundation stone for me in terms of the springboard, shall we say. Yeah.
So what about the move to Liverpool then? How did that happen, and how did your journey begin then for the women's organisation?
Well, obviously, in the United States, it's a great place, and I did end up having a green card, so I could live there. But there was something dragging me back to Europe, really. And I think one of the things was I had a family member that lived here. So consequently, I moved. I moved in the early 90s. And, many of you will know that the Liverpool and I suppose the northwest of England and a lot of sort of industrial towns and cities were having real difficulty in terms of unemployment and economic decline, and Liverpool was no different. So Liverpool was a very different place when I moved here first in the early 90s. And I think one of the things was that, it was difficult to get a job.
Yeah.
Very difficult. So I suppose I had to create my own job in one respect. And I was, and I had my grounding in the United States. You could, I sort of saw it. I believed it. I didn't, and you're young. I think probably a bit stupid.
Naive, we'll go for.
Naive.
Well, anyway, there was nothing particularly, I wasn't particularly, I suppose, I never thought about, I suppose the risks or the difficulties or whatever. I just thought,
and there's a bit of a lack of responsibility at that age as well,
Sure.
isn't there?
I had a
No
backpack.
house, no
Yeah.
you've not got the responsibilities
nothing.
maybe
I
as
had
you have got older.
absolutely nothing. So literally, that was it. I had one of those portable disc recorders. It was like something now that should be in the I suppose in the museum now, and a backpack when and that's all of my belongings. I had zero else. But yeah, finding a job was quite difficult. I did have a job, but in sales for a while and did well, but didn't quite get on with the culture, and we parted company, shall we say? And I thought really working for somebody else wasn't really my cup of tea, pardon the pun. And so I attempted to start up a business, and I went to get business advice. And what happened was a lovely, he was a lovely man. He was grey haired and he had a grey suit. I'll never forget it, actually. And he did advise me I should get a little job for myself because I was, in my early 20s, and there was a certain patronising tone that has stuck with me since. And I did feel kind of, I suppose, it did trip me up for a while. I decided not to start in that particular area because I was thinking about something like the women's organisation at that stage. And so I went into publishing with a business partner, a journalist, and that business did very well. We used to produce trade magazines, and I was commercial director, so we were a business partnership, and made some money.
Always good.
Always good. And then started to accumulate things like a property, and then the market fell away from that because of some of our major contractors became privatised. So we used to work for British Rail. So I decided just to take myself off traveling for a while in Southeast Asia. I got my backpack out again and just decided that, that was what seemed like the sensible thing to do at that stage. But when I came back, I really, I'd started the consultancy world again, and it was fine, but it wasn't really feeding the soul, shall we say.
Yeah.
And then an opportunity came. There was a contract. It had been advertised in the Echo. Remember when they used to be, if you want to look for a job, you look in the Echo. And this tender was it was for a New Opportunities for Women program, a European program, and I thought, I'm sure I can do that. Yeah, so we set up an organisation. I got a few women together, and that's where Train 2000, the forerunner to the women's organisation, started in 1996. So it would never happen today. We had a ruler between us. And a pen.
Wow.
There was nothing else. And apart from,
a ruler, a pen and a passion. And
a bunch of women that were really kind of very supportive on our committee. They were very, they were passionate. They had really women's economic development and women's progression at their heart. And they were mentors to me as well. They were older than me. And came from a variety of backgrounds. So it would never probably happen today with all of the pre-qualifications and all of the checks and balances. If it was on the basis of process, probably, we'd have been sunk.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have been great for us because, for those of you who don't know, Leading Ladies actually started at the women's organisation when myself and Cal were put together by one of your coaches. So that's incredible. And our platform is what it is because of the women's organisation doing that. So thank you.
Well, I would say to you, I mean, and thank you for those, for that acknowledgement, but really it's you guys. We are just facilitators. We guide and we provide support and we provide advice. Effectively, all the heavy lifting is always done by the female entrepreneurs. It's just about providing a space where it's a safe space, but also it's a professional space. And it's a space that's dedicated to women. It's very clear about what this is for. This isn't, it's not a mixed environment because a lot of the time, and all the research shows that in actual fact, you get a mixed environment, and I'm afraid our male counterparts do take up the airtime. So, and so consequently, this is a space for women to get all the technical and professional and business acumen, develop their business acumen before they go out into the world, and to test their ideas as well in, as I say, in a professional environment where they can be challenged. It isn't, it's not cuddly and fuzzy. I don't think you found it cuddly and fuzzy. It's really serious business because you're taking a risk, and you've taken a risk, and we appreciate that. And we're here as facilitators to actually provide that kind of, I suppose, independent, objective view, really, in relation to, and to challenge women that come in the door and say, "Oh, I'm going to work, 12 hours a day and 17 days, or 7 days a week," and that's not realistic in the long term.
No.
So we that is our job. Our job is to very much, provide a reality check, but at the same time to actually provide the support that is that women need in the way that they need it as well.
So in terms of then talking about support, who's been some of your biggest support? Who do you go to for advice and support?
Yeah. Oh, the list is as long as your arm. Really, it really is. And I think it's different people for different things.
Definitely.
And people talk about mentorship, and they talk about, the necessity and the need for mentorship. I've never been a big fan of formal mentorship, where you come and you ask someone, "Can you be my mentor?" It's like, "Oh no," I just sort of sidle in and say,
that was our next question.
Yeah.
Can you be our mentor?
Can you just sort of, can you just help me out on X and Y and stuff that I don't know.
Yeah.
There are so many over the years. I mean, I suppose one of my, obviously some of the women that started the Train 2000, the forerunner to the women's organisation with me were, one woman who's since passed away, sadly, was a great mentor, Rita Bevington, and she was fearless. She had the courage, courage of her convictions, but at the same time, absolutely fearless, and just would always sort of, challenge you to, if you were feeling kind of like uncertain or whatever, she'd challenge you in an appropriate way. So I always found her, and I miss her terribly to this day in terms of the fact that, there are times where I think back and I'm like, what would Rita do and what would Rita say, and then of course, people say, "Oh, well, it's when you're a woman in business, do you need women as your?" Yes, you do need women. You need a variety of people and a diversity of backgrounds to support you. And I think my business partner, Lou Baxter, again, I did really go for people that were much older than me. And Lou, for years, he was a journalist and an international journalist. And he just had a sense of, of course you can do it.
Yeah.
And this sense of curiosity, always really, really encouraging curiosity. And also, very, he was very hot on the idea of just, I suppose being humble, but at the same time not taking things too seriously, and having fun on the way. So, and from a technical, intellectual point of view, his insights were absolutely invaluable. I think also, from an academic point of view, I had a Professor Tom Cannon. He's an emeritus professor at Liverpool University, but has been around the world for sport in relation to, many, various roles in academia and in the private sector as well. And I remember reading one of his articles. He was one of the first, himself and Professor Sarah Carter from Glasgow University, were one of the first academics to talk about and to write about female entrepreneurship in the UK. I remember getting a hold of their paper. I didn't know a lot of it. I didn't, understand some of it or the nuance of it. But I knew there was something in there that we could be better and do better in terms of actually how women were, the lack of lending, or how they practically had to go and ask their husbands for permission to, borrow. And more importantly, how, banks were, wall to wall male bankers, and they would be saying, "And what's your husband think of this?" It's like, well, who cares?
And can you imagine anyone asking our husbands what they think about the things that we do now?
Could you imagine your reaction to it?
No,
They just-
exactly.
Yeah. So, and that was very much present. And to some extent, it's not the same thing. It's covert today, but back to others. I mean, as I say, the Jen McKenna, he gave me my first tutoring job in business support. He's now, an executive Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts, and then there were other people that I sort of sat on boards with, like Dr. Ruth Hussey. She's ex-chief medical officer for Wales. They all were in sort of in the middle of their own careers, and I was just there soaking it all in. Looking at them, listening to them, asking them questions. I was probably like an annoying child, really. Some people say I haven't really grown up.
That's the best way to be.
Yeah.
So what's the best bit of advice that you've ever been given?
Oh, again, the list is endless.
Not that guy who told you to go and get yourself a little job.
Well,
No.
you know what? I mean, I have to be grateful for him, because he did.
Fuel.
He
Yeah.
managed to absolutely incite me to a point of, I was incandescent. Yeah. That is, it has stayed with me, for too many years now, really.
Yeah.
No, I think the thing about it is about preparedness. I think one of the things is that you don't know everything, so ask people and get the advice, get the support, prepare, but don't get frozen and don't get paralyzed by fear. I think fear and this sense of uncertainty, around oneself is really problematic. It's one of the major, kind of things that, apart from the structural inequalities that hold women back and the barriers, which is plenty of those.
Which are huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things we can say is that, and what we should say to one another, is you can do it. But having said that, it's not you can do it under any circumstances. You can do it when you're prepared, when there is an opportunity, when you've evaluated that opportunity, and when you're ready to put your shoulder to the wheel. And that preparedness is about actually getting advice. It is about, making the and this idea of saying, starting a business isn't easy. It's not for everybody.
No.
And the fear of failure is real. And it should be taken seriously. And what I would say is that, in many respects, I think, I take my hat off to women every day, the courage that they have in order to be able to, take that plunge is quite significant. So I think the main thing is preparedness, and also this idea of really, believing in yourself. And then the other thing is challenge. Look, we really haven't got an equal playing ground here. This is not a fair deal at all.
No.
We get, as a community of entrepreneurs, significantly less investment. Now, when you're talking about some of the institutions, and we're talking about, in terms of venture capital, for example, 1%. 1%. That's 1 penny in every pound. That's £1 in every 100.
Yeah.
I mean, is that not scandalous or not?
It's
Absolutely. And then in terms of, if you even look and see how some of the public investment goes, it's shocking. And also what investment, where the investment's going to. These are not areas that women are actually occupying in terms of their businesses, And of course we need large infrastructure projects, but at the expense of everything else in terms of small business, the new and potential entrepreneurial cohort, i.e. women, and also, their innovation, the innovations that they'll bring to the marketplace. The fact that, after all, they are 52% of the population. So for me, I'm well cross and vexed still in relation to the kind of in relation to how women are treated as entrepreneurs, how they are overlooked as entrepreneurs, how their businesses are undervalued, how they are described in the media in terms of, like some sort of part-time, fun thing that we do. Job creating, innovation, growth potential, and even if it's not growth potential, creating jobs in and economic impact. So, and all the evidence says that, but I could have a tractor and trailer full of, to use the farming analogy again, full of evidence, and I pull that, I share that evidence quite a lot in my day-to-day job. But what I would say to you is that we really do need to challenge, and my advice is that we've got to stand up and be heard as entrepreneurs.
Definitely got to stand up and be heard. So, on that major note of standing up and being heard, we have a major ongoing debate at the moment, which is it's very close to
almost
our heart,
like
isn't it?
down,
And divisive, I think, as well. So, Maggie, we have this podcast called Spill the Tea with LLIB.
Yes.
And Clare makes her tea quite differently to how I make my tea.
She's going to go there, isn't she?
Yeah.
I am going to go there.
This is going to be the closing.
This is going to be the closing tradition on the show, Maggie.
Yeah.
So you are going to be the first point. Will it be a point for Team Cal?
Yeah.
Who makes the tea the right way? Or will it be a point for Team Clare?
Okay.
Who has to make Cal's tea the right way?
Yeah, it was nearly a major
it really did.
falling out point.
We went to a school really quickly. We went to a school a little while ago, and it was the first time. Must have been not long after we'd met at the Women's Org, and we got a little bit of funding to go and do some work in the school. Yeah. And I said, we'll go in the kitchen and we'll make a cup of tea. And I was making a cup of tea the right way, and I turned around and Cal's eyes were just on me.
It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing there?
She nearly dived over the tables.
So Claire makes her cup of tea. She'll put the tea bag in, put the water in, and then put the milk in, and then she will remove the tea bag.
Yeah, when it's the perfect colour.
I make the tea by putting the tea bag in, squeezing the tea bag out, discarding the tea bag, and then adding the milk. At no point does my milk see the tea bag. Okay. So Maggie, how do you make yours? Are you Team Cal? Or are you
That's a bit hard.
Team Clare?
The difficult decisions you talk about every day.
Exactly, Maggie.
This is
divisive. It is critical. Yeah, it ends relationships, friendships.
Well, of course, absolutely.
Businesses, fall at the first hurdle in a staff room.
Yes, I can well imagine. I just want to say one thing in relation to this before I actually come down with my, and come out about who I am and what I am in relation to the tea.
And whether we can actually be friends anymore.
Well, indeed. I want to say that I grew up where none of that counted insofar as that, there was no tea bag in the tea. There was, we used to get our tea in a caddy. So consequently, it was loose tea leaves. So you spend most of your time trying to avoid it when you were... So I'm just going to say, oh my God, on a scale of 1 to no. You're shocking. Yes. You are shocking. You must take the tea bag out of the teacup before you put the milk in.
Okay, I think
what
that's
sort of person are you? I mean, really.
I know, Maggie, honestly, what kind of feral animal is she?
I just made your tea.
But I just say, I'm going to say this, there's probably, there's room for you yet. But you can come over to the side of...
If you want to cancel a tea.
I mean, Claire is by trade now a counsellor and psychotherapist
I can
as
well
well.
imagine she needs to be. You need to counsel yourself, really.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Maggie, you've made my morning.
I'm so sorry, but I think it's important just to one has to be truthful about these things in order to recover from your ways. I wouldn't use the word feral. That's terrible. But your wanton ways in relation to tea making. You'll be a better person.
She will.
You'll be a happier person.
Do you actually have to make tea your way now?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a non-negotiable.
It is.
Absolutely. But I know plenty of people that are on your side of the fence.
We need that.
You do, yeah. You probably do. It's bad to be out there in the island on your own.
Definitely.
I actually won in the social media poll.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're wrong too.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't ever rely on social media.
God,
That's another piece of advice for you.
Well, cheers to that, Maggie.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. It's been fun. Thank you.
If you've enjoyed it, please do remember to share and subscribe and get involved with all your feedback over on social media, where you will never know who will be spilling their tea next and whether they will be making it the right way or the wrong way.